don't know, monster.
Hey,
Hey,
how are you?
how
All right,
are you?
good.
First time you. The weather is still the same. Last time I saw you in this, I remember in this club it was raining like that,
Oh,
and
oh,
now
is it like that?
still it's the same now. It's
Oh, oh, that's weird.
no,
It,
no, but
it's ra it's raining in Brooklyn too.
really,
Yeah,
it's the same latitude. How are you?
I'm
Thank
good.
you so much. Nice to see you. Oh,
Nice to see
you
you.
have
Th-
here.
I haven't done anything, man.
Just,
I
just
haven't gone anywhere.
everything is growing everywhere.
I know, it's crazy.
I was just trying to, this icon was giving me some work today. I was trying like, not working. So we have many people here very curious because you
Okay,
have lots of
cool.
fans in Portugal and
Wow.
amazingly still people might not know you. So this is really nice to help those people find all the stuff you've been doing.
Oh, thanks,
Um,
man.
so I'm just going to remind everybody that they have a question mark down here so they can
Okay.
ask some questions if you want to talk to
Yeah,
them or answer some questions or some musical stuff.
sure.
And I was just listening to your you know I didn't have time to listen to the you told me about this Jim Campiloma trio.
Oh,
You've been
yeah. You check
really
that out?
I was just picking up my blues harp like it's
Wow.
really nice stuff, really nice stuff. My personal taste, like
Yeah.
great sounds, and so you've
Yeah.
been doing live concerts
Yeah.
with it.
Jim is originally from San Francisco area,
Okay,
and he
okay.
moved to New York, and it became known, as a Monday night residency. Jim always had a Monday night gig in New York with his band, with his trio. Most of the time, it was a trio, and then I'd say about 7 years ago, Chris Morrissey, great bassist, and I became the new trio. You know, and it was really cool because Jim is playing a Telecaster guitar, and he's doing he's like blending all of these Telecaster type sounds with kind of the classic. I don't use any pedals. I'm only putting my amp up to 10 or whatever. I mean, uh,
Cool.
kind of like, do you know a guitarist named Roy Buchanan?
Yeah, yeah.
Roy Buchanan, right? So like, kind of coming from that, and then all of the different country styles. And I mean, man, I just started to get into this stuff the past 5 years or since I met Jim, and so blending that with like jazz and some avant-garde kind of stuff, and it's really cool.
Oh, really cool. I have to show him to some friends because I was listening to the third song, but I still didn't grasp the whole thing. But it's right away. It's like that thing you just said, all the roots sound, all
Yeah.
the
Well,
just for me,
it
it's
no, for me too. And it's interesting because a lot of times when you're looking for a gig where you can grow as a musician, and I think that I've always been a jazz player, but I haven't done tons of jazz gigs, especially being in a band where you like are able to like create a sound. And I think that with the Campolongo trio, like, as a drummer, like I needed that in my life, man, because it's really like, we play these ballads that are just, there's so much breath and openness to the ballad. It's like, I really needed to be in a band where that happened so I could learn how to do that.
yeah.
Um, and then also free music. It was the first time I had ever confidently played totally free, and then started to get into all that music, you know, going back to the Ornette Coleman stuff and the Paul Blay with Steve Swallow and Pete LaRocca and Paul Motion and all that stuff, and just everything in between, you know, trying to use that with this guitar, this Telecaster guitar, bass and drums kind of thing, and we didn't even think about it that much. So I already spoke more than we talked about it. basically. You know what I mean? It just kind of happened. So, and it's cool.
Yeah, yeah, I totally understand because that thing you said is really, really, I think it's really important for drummers. I tend to talk to that a lot because when I started playing, I was like 10 years in a band, and then when you start playing with other people, other stuff, creative, taking risks, it's amazing. It's really, I mean, of course, there's a person for everything, and but generally speaking, what you just said makes complete sense. You grow so much because it's good to have a nice, good band where you learn everything. If it's a good band and you learn about the business and working hard, and but then it's nice to meet other people, and because you learn much faster when you're a little bit older and when you know what you want to experience, and it's amazing. I think many drummers sometimes by many circumstances stay in one place, and then it's really I believe I don't know if you agree, if you the latest you do this, it's kind of sometimes it's not so easy. I don't know if you agree.
You mean the older I get?
You know, the older you get as a musician, as a drummer, it's more tough if you've been doing the same
Oh, the
thing.
same thing over. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and I think, with every band, I mean, it happens with Paris Monster. It happens with the Campolongo Trio, where it's like you need to find ways to reinvent yourself along the way. You know what I mean? And um, I think that with the Campolongo Trio, with me, it's been like a constant challenge to just know, to be a better drummer, just literally the mechanics of drumming.
Mhm.
Um, to have that New York gig where it's like you're playing every week. And I think that the Campolongo Trio, what I gained in that is something that I can take now to other groups that in this kind of small group improv
Mhm.
realm that I may not have had the confidence. Now maybe I know that I can bring something, and I have something that I want to say, you know. But it does get harder to play, basically the same music every week. Now the great thing about improvisation is, you can find new things, and that's what you're going for. And I think that if you just put me, just like I just appeared all of a sudden, poof, I'm on stage with that band. I got no time to think. That's what it is.
But it's great
That's what that gig is.
because
You know.
it's pure
Yeah.
musical. You need to express, and it's amazing. I love that. It's almost the same when you don't have so much time to rehearse, follow up, or study or whatever. If you
Yeah.
listen a lot, I feel when I listen, I play better when I'm listening to new stuff and listening and absorbing because I don't have time to play, but I'm playing in my head, and then it's like, oh, okay, if I'm open, and I think in maybe a trio and you play lots of times with a duo, you have to be even. I don't know. You have to be. You always have to be solid, but it's different, right? Because you really need to be there because
Well,
there's
yeah.
no.
I mean, there are times in the trio where I find I'm not saying anything. I have nothing. Let's say there's a night where I have nothing to say.
Yeah,
Every time I try to play something, it sucks. So then, well, what does a drummer do? Well, you just play time. It's okay. It's okay to just play time. You know what I mean? So that's. But then there's those instances where, I'm kind of seeing the groove in front of me. It's like a flat line that I can just kind of touch, and I know it's there. I'm not only hearing my own
hmm
speech on the drums. I'm saying something. I'm playing rhythms in time, and I'm at the same time hearing what Chris and Jim are playing. And it's this beautiful thing that you can't quite describe. And I just tried to, when you're in the zone
yeah,
and
yeah.
your mind, and you're not thinking that much, but you're emoting and you're speaking, but you're also listening and you're hearing, and therefore it's a conversation, and it's all working. And I can't, and the groove is there. I can't quite describe. I wish that there was, just a way to constantly turn that on, And sometimes I get halfway through a show and I'm like, I haven't found it, you know. But
It's funny, isn't it? Because so many years pass and this never changes. It's always like, why am I playing today? And like, it's
yeah,
nothing. Like it's like the drums are against you. Like, bah, 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 bah. And
yeah,
no, no, and you know it. You know that you're gonna. And then there's one song and it's kind of going up, and then again it's like, no, this is not the day. And then some days it's like, bah, you
yeah,
just
I know.
think, and it's like, bah, and it's
And
like
you
you
might
said.
go back and listen. You might go back and listen to that day that felt terrible, and it might be fine. You know,
Yeah.
I recorded some gigs at the 55 bar that felt awful, and I went back and listened, and I was like, whatever. You know, it's like it wasn't great. It wasn't like the most mind blowing, but it wasn't bad. You know, maybe someone else really liked it. You know what I mean? It's like really,
I love it. Yeah.
it's a weird process to go through. You know, but you know, I really there's something that I look up to about people who are great improvisers. They seem to either forget what just happened or they forgive themselves very fast and they just move on to the next thing. You can't be thinking about anything really. It's just, and that's the thing. If you can kind of shut yourself off, take yourself out of it, and allow yourself to just listen and react, you know, I think that's kind of what it is, and that's what I love so much about playing improv music. You know, I really do. While also having a melody and you can, I mean, playing a tune, there's just something about that kind of stuff. I can't wait to I can't wait to get back to playing, man. You know.
No,
Yeah.
it is. It's the free. It's always a completely different aspect for even for a drummer because
But I
you're
love, yeah, I love like holding the groove and then reacting to the solo, or not, or like really hearing the solo and holding back and then capitalizing at a certain point when you've been patient. And also also when it's free of time completely, and it's sounds and reacting in that totally, you know, like, probably the oldest manner of communication between humans. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like, you know, it's like when people would, like, you know, communicate by whistling in the mountains or something. Like that's what I feel like I'm doing. It's like,
it
and like
is.
I'm not thinking about jazz school at that point. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, that's what I love about it. It becomes, you know, totally natural, earthy, however
Does
else you want to
this
say it.
does this happen to you? Does this happen to you also when I'm feeling a little bit down and I'm very emotional also in my playing? Uh, I mean, if I'm too rational, I will sound like crap. And when I'm just okay, just relax. And everybody, all my friends that know me well playing, they will say, "Ah, you're not feeling good tonight, right?" Just
Right.
by the playing, like you're
Just gonna
not
tell your
feeling.
vibe. Yeah.
If I'm feeling great, just come on, just play. Because I think drummers have this thing, really every musician, but your personality, your feelings, and your emotions are really, really important when you're a drummer. Because if you're a shy guy, you will have to work on your assertiveness. If you're too assertive, maybe you can get cocky, right? I don't know, and it's always a limbo, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes when I don't feel it, I just relax and let it go. Just as you said, I play time. And then sometimes if you just cook and just relax, okay, you don't feel so good. If you wait, sometimes it happens. Does this happen to you? Like just relax, keep
If
it,
you relax, yeah. Oh,
and then
definitely. I mean,
it builds
there's
up.
all. It's also tough too because I feel like there's different instances. Like for instance, if you're in a rock band, it's kind of hard to like forget about yourself a little bit. I don't know.
It
I think
depends.
that I think that no matter what, I guess no matter what, when you're playing music,
Yeah,
you are definitely, you're a part of something bigger. So you don't want to be thinking about, you know. But then it is kind of funny because when I'm playing, I feel like when I'm playing small group music or, you know, or something, it's like I really want it. It's more like Zen or something, you know, where and it's like, I mean, to the point of a song will happen and it's almost like if we get to the before the next song, I have to wipe the slate clean. You know what I mean? I have to like totally, I don't know why I'm saying forgive myself, but it's like, you know, it's almost like I'm done. You know, it's over. It's
Yeah,
over.
yeah.
Like
I know.
we're moving forward here. Um, and sometimes if I'm thinking too much and if I'm too inside my own head, it's like
Yeah,
you're not only like breaking the vibe, but it's like you're just not going to have a good time. You know
yeah,
what I mean? It's
yeah.
really it's tough, you know. But I think it is funny because there's something about like, especially like if you're singing or if you're a front person, it is it's interesting in a way because you're kind of there to draw attention to yourself. So that's a strange mindset, and to be able to like go for both of those things sometimes. I think for myself, I get, you know, torn in two at
Mhm,
times.
mhm, mhm,
Uh,
mhm. I understand what you mean. Yeah. I
yeah.
understand. Do you have this? Do you have this thing some musicians have, some don't, like preference for small club, cozy but vibrant, or big things, and most of the times not so vibrant because you don't feel all the. Do you have a preference, or it's the same, depends on whatever?
I I mean, you know, I've never played a stadium. I've played some big places and I don't like it. I've also never played a huge place and felt that feeling that the entire audience is with me.
Mm-hmm,
You know what I
mm-hmm,
mean? I just don't. Maybe I've just not gotten there yet. But I will tell you this: when it's a room that where everyone does get in that energy and they're all there, and
mm-hmm. And you
it's amazing.
feel.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's an energy thing, and I think that's why playing huge shows can feel so weird sometimes. You're so
Mm-hmm,
far away. There's something about a small club, and it's so funny because with Paris Monster, um, I I had to learn how to play right in front of people with the keyboard.
with the keyboard and singing.
You know what I mean? It was almost like, what the hell are you doing, man? But then once I became comfortable with like someone, like we're a crowded place and there's people like up against the stage, and I all of a sudden I felt so at ease.
Yeah.
You know, once we got to that place and it was like, and I'm performing, we're performing. You know what I mean? And it's like, um, and to figure out how to perform with
Mhm,
that took a minute, and that level of comfort, and then when the artist feels that you're inviting people, you know, and it's
mhm.
not always there. I hate those shows where it's not there, where you don't
Right.
get it.
I think yeah,
Brutal.
when I feel that when you have a big, like big gig, I always felt like there's a big, a pitch between the stage. Can you say a
There
pitch?
literally is. Yeah, there's like a security thing. You know, you can't even.
There's many people over there, but
Yeah,
mostly I play with the band. Mostly I have fun with the band. I understand that
yeah,
afterwards I say, okay, it was a nice gig because it was a nice gig here. If the in and if the sound is all like big festivals like go 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 and you're like in here like you're not listening anything,
yeah.
it's like
Right.
that's
You didn't have
even worse.
time for anything.
It's
Yeah.
that's the worst. It's like whoa,
Oh, I
I'm
know.
creeping.
That's why, man, you are bad as hell if you can get up on a festival stage and make it happen. You really are. You know, and like we're talking about kind of letting it wash over you, and you just, you know, your monitor mix might suck, or but it's all inside of you,
Yeah, yeah,
and you
just
trust the microphones. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
I feel that I feel that I always play small in that sense that I always try to have a good sound there, sound good with the guys over there, and that's why clubs mostly are better for me because and I think what you said is really interesting because I love theater. I love raw things where you just have to speak and you're there. The audience is here and I'm here and just nothing, no net. You just need to do it. And I
Yeah,
think there's something amazing about that. It's
I
really
agree.
performative rawness, and and it's scary when you play drums really close to the people that are and they're watching you because in your case they will be watching all the time. You're singing, you're playing the keyboards, everybody's watching you,
Oh yeah.
and you know that, and it's like come on, it's like
You know, and sometimes there's a shyness that I still feel, but once I'm up against a bunch of people right in front of me. There's nowhere to hide. And it's like, it brings out something that I wish that I could. It's another thing I wish I could just turn on all the time, you know? And it's interesting because it invites the audience without being like, hey, everybody move a little closer, you know, or whatever. You know, it invites people. I really do believe in that. Like if you catch the vibe, people start to feel the vibe.
Yeah. In
You
your
know what I
case,
mean? It
yeah,
really is a thing. And
yeah.
so yeah, that's cool.
With Paris Monster, I think people tend to feel that most of the time, mainly if they know a little bit about the band, because I saw a little bit of your thing in that drums festival, and then I saw you in Famalicão. But I had many friends that saw you in Porto. There, some of them are talking right
Oh,
here.
cool.
That I think that gig was really nice, and
That was
people
great.
because people understand. It's just as you said. There's a moment of liberation. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
just I'm gonna do this, and as soon as you start doing it, most of the times people will come. They will go with you, and then it's the good stuff.
I'm
I
glad.
think
No. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, sorry, because I was going to remind people about. I have one question, but please will.
Oh, I just saw someone say a message that they thought the band had a positive message, and I appreciate that. You
Yeah.
know, well, it's funny because you know we kind of can have a darker sound sometimes, and I'm glad that people are uplifted. You know what I mean? That's I think that's, I mean, I guess feeling emotion in any way is uplifting, and that's what we want to do. I mean, there's so much technical shit going on that's, you know, I think that it's if someone feels something, I'm very happy. I really am.
When you were explaining a little bit of your in that festival in Lavra, you were explaining about your. It was really nice because it was different. These festivals with workshops. Sometimes they tend to be all the same. It's the truth. It's speaking as a drummer, speaking as an interested person. Sometimes I go there and there's an amazing drummer, but there's no connection or there's no many. But then it was amazing when you just showed a little bit of your grooves and started singing and saying how you usually play and build stuff, and it was like it's like it was already there, like all the groove, it was amazing. I
Thank you.
love your
I,
grooves.
Thank you. So, I mean, man, I have enjoyed. I have to tell you, I mean, I've been a drummer my whole life. So for me to be at drum festivals and clinics and things like that, uh, it's kind of crazy because it brought me back to, you know, what I was raised on, and it's like, um, to have any insight at all and to have anybody be interested in it is really amazing, you know, and to be able to share. You know, I had an old friend and a good friend and a great teacher told me once, what's mine is yours. And the way he said it to me, I was like, and this guy knows a lot. I mean, this guy's, you know, beautiful musician who I gained so much from, you know, and he said, what's mine is yours. I
Yeah,
was just like, damn, okay, you know. And I was
but
like,
that's very
that's,
beautiful, because I teach drums mainly initial people or intermediate people want to learn, and sometimes I feel like still people want to keep things for themselves, and I'm like, "Oh, what are you keeping? It's everything out there. The other day I was talking to Pete Lockett, and he said rhythm is everywhere, and rhythm is everywhere. We don't own it. It's like all the books are there, all the musicians are there. When you go and play live, you don't keep anything to yourself. You don't hide anything. So you don't need to hide anything. You don't need to keep anything. That's really beautiful. That's a
yeah,
really beautiful approach. I think and feel like that. I
good.
don't need to. I mean, if you want me to give you a drum lesson, I won't give you a drum lesson, okay, for free because that's what I do for a living. That's another thing, but you
Right.
don't
That's a separate
need
issue.
you don't need like to okay secrets. And in my experience, even if you share them, most people won't be available to listen and to understand what you're saying or to put the work
Yeah.
that you
Well,
put.
that's another thing. I mean, I think there are some aspects of music that are so hard to describe. like the stuff we're talking about, working together with other musicians in a band, like improv and stuff like that. I mean, it's really hard to like explain to somebody, but there's always something to share with somebody. It could be the simplest thing. You know, I remember, you know, are you familiar with Billy Hart? Legendary drummer, Billy Hart. Check him out.
I'm
He's
gonna
Billy
wait.
Hart. Okay, so Billy lives in New York. I don't know him well, but I love his playing, and I, you know, check out his stuff. And I at one point was going to quite a few of his shows, and I would come up to him and just talk because, you know, he's like very approachable. And I mean, he played with, you know, he's on like Miles Davis records. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, it goes. He's of the great lineage of drummers. And so here I am talking to this guy, and I like asked him a question about the wide beat. The wide beat. This is something that another teacher of mine had told me. Go ask Billy about the wide beat. And so I did. And he took a copy of Hot House, which is like the local jazz newspaper, and he just started banging the clave on my head. You know what I mean? It was like, it's very much like, it kind of said like, I can't tell if it was, you know, go get out of here, kid, or, you know, or like, this is the answer to the wide beat. Now let me tell you this. I tried feeling that the next time I was playing like a jazz groove or something, and I was just like, huh. I mean, okay. My point is this. That meant something to me.
Of course.
And it was nothing for him. He was just passing through. And you know what I mean? And I just think that I think if you're seeking, you know, you're going to find things. And I also think that, you know, there's not much, you know, there's no, you know, there are secrets that we have, but I think that all in all, you know, like you said, rhythm is everywhere, you know, rhythm is everywhere. And it's like, you know, we don't own that, you know, we don't own that.
Most of the time, I believe, that some of the, let's say, secrets of the trade, I believe that are only things that some guys are doing at the same time in different places of the world, and they try to keep it to themselves, but it always comes up. It always shows, because it's like you said, when you're searching, you will always. That's why so many great drummers seem and so unique, but when you ask them, they will say, no, I was trying to emulate this guy. But then you say, no, but it's amazing. Many times it's amazing. Many original guys have, for example, you have a very original playing, and many times people were listening to specific guys and sounds and trying to go get there without trying to be them.
Yeah.
They built their own stuff because they wanted so much, you know, they searched so much, they were so into it.
I think that's the beautiful thing. I mean, you can find players who, and that's what the lineage of drumming is. You know what I mean? That people study other players, and then that becomes a part of their thing. But they find a way to do it there. You know what I mean? It's just, that's the beautiful part of studying and accepting someone else's art. You know, and being influenced by it, and I mean, that's the only reason that I would have anything that was unique, is because I would, you know, cop what other drummers were doing, but then all of the different styles would blend into one, and your influences would come out in your playing, and it might be kind of a cool hybrid. You know, it's interesting how that works. You know,
it is. I keep thinking about it. I keep thinking about it. Just yesterday, we lost a big guy that was
oh,
was
damn.
doing that, Tony.
Tony Allen. Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
so sometimes you listen to me say, okay, he was just, it's just this thing, okay, but it's never just this thing. It's just, he just did something, something, you know, you just. It's not that less is more. It's not about that, but it's keep it. It was genuine, you know. How do you say it? Sorry about my English, but it's
No, please. Generating.
no. I was trying to say a word in Portuguese, but
Oh
I
man.
was original, you know. So
Yeah.
if you play, for example, traditional players. I always love this thing. We have many guys in Europe playing, you know, folk or stuff like that, and some of them. The other day I was talking, I don't know with who already, and that remind me of this. Whenever I go and see these guys playing traditional music, because I'm really into that here in Portugal and stuff, playing with bagpipes and stuff. Really old guys, they don't know, but they're really solid. They never make a mistake, because we were talking about mistakes and being in the zone. These guys are always in the zone because they're players. They're just play to have fun, but they're always connected. They never make a mistake. And I think some musicians understand this. Some musicians go and get this roots thing, you know, like it is what it is. It's this. It's no, they don't develop big things around it, but they end up developing because I believe these roots thing are always very rich. I don't know, like,
Oh
like
man.
blues and jazz and whatever and soul, and it's like, whoa, you keep pulling things out of there, right? Keep pulling, keep pulling. It's
Oh
amazing.
yeah, there's so yeah. I mean, every style has, you know, an authenticity that you want to try to get to the root of, you know. And traditional music, I mean, I don't know why, but you made me think of, there's this great Irish bar called Swift in New York, and on Tuesday nights they have this Irish jam. This band comes in and plays. It's like the most badass music. The musicians are so good. It's like you said, it's like they don't make a mistake, and it's so, I'm like, how can this be this good? And these people are just here in like the corner of this bar. You know what I mean? And I just, I think that a lot of music, and we, you know, I know I get caught up in, like, you know, like you said, it's the way that we make our living. I think sometimes that has something to do with it.
Mhm, mhm.
You know what I mean? So we're like hustling out there, and like some people are like badass and they like have a job, you know, and they just like show up and shred. You know, there's so many ways to do it, man.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
but most
It's
importantly is that authenticity, I think,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
in the style of music. You know, it's, man, crazy stuff.
There's a little question here. I knew that this question would appear for
Okay.
sure. How did you start using the synth along with the drums? Do you suggest any kind of exercises? It's true, but I've been seeing many people doing this
I
after
know. I know.
you know, you
It's
were one
it's
of the, there
it's
was
wild.
other, but you are one of the biggest people now bringing this. I see many people here in Portugal doing their small videos playing
It's
this.
bizarre. I know.
Oh,
I got to tell you, if you had told me 10 years ago that I'd be doing this now, it's really funny how it all, now, I think we all, I think about 15, 20 years ago, everyone would say Kenwood Denard was the guy that had done a video, and so, and I think that was just one thing he just did
mhm,
sometimes,
mhm,
you know. Um, Now, so that being said, I started making videos on Facebook, I think, I don't know, like a long time ago now, 2009 maybe, or something like that, 2010. And just kind of messing around, mostly because, you know, singing from the drums, I love singing from the drums, obviously. That's where I'm most comfortable. But I wanted to just be able to accompany myself with some
mhm,
chords. And,
mhm,
uh, and then I started messing around, and Jeff from Paris Monster and we had a duo gig at like this festival, and it was very like last minute. Matter of fact, it was one of those instances where we couldn't think because we were so late. Like, I had gotten pulled over, and we were like unprepared, you know, which is the story of my life, but we like didn't have that much material. And I had a Nord and a microKORG, and we got up on this, you know, not a huge festival, but like pretty, you know, big enough where, you know, it could go wrong. And we had this amazing set of playing. We played duo. It was one of the first times we played duo, and the energy, I couldn't believe that it felt as good as playing with a full band for me. You know, like there was instances where I was like, because, you know, with a duo you really have to embrace simplicity sometimes, and like unison and things, to you can't try to be four people, you know what I mean? You got to be two people. And this is before Jeff had gotten into the modular synth.
Okay.
And even that show felt good. So as time went by, and we were kind of like, man, let's get into this. Let's check it out. And he had this little yellow synth, and we traded something for that synth. It was his synth, And so I started to get into the synth. Now I'm a drummer first and a singer. That's really what I consider myself. But I had enough piano skills to kind of, and I'm really into funk. I've always been into funk and synth bass and things like that. So we started to play shows, and we made our first album, and it kind of became a thing. And then Jeff got the modular, and the modular synth really became an integral part of kind of completing the rhythm and adding another synth element, and it kind of completed the fact that I didn't have two hands on the drums. I mean, it's really elaborate, but it's actually quite simple. It's just like the modular's going, I play, he plays the way he plays, and that's what we do, And it's interesting. Like, I don't know if I have any exercises other than if you wanted to work on it. I mean, obviously the most important thing is like you want to be grooving. You know what I mean? Like if you're not grooving, it feels terrible, and you're doing something that's like kind of odd feeling because half of your body is playing something that's not a drum. I mean, you're playing a keyboard, and I don't know. It's weird. It kind of makes you feel like a little off at first. So if you can find a way to keep a beat and groove with the keyboard, I mean, that's just number one, I would say, if you want to get into that. I mean, I think it's cool when people use anything like that to help the sound of a band. I mean, a lot of times drummers will break down. There's a section where it's just four on the floor, and you'll see them reach over and play some chords or something. If it's like the B section of a song or a bridge, you know what I mean? Like there's a million ways you could do it. You could have it so it's more rhythmic. So you're not requiring to play certain notes even. You could have it, be the kind of thing where it's more percussive. There's so many ways to split it up and try to just be creative with it. But for me, practicing with the metronome helps so much to figure out where I'm putting the groove. And with the left foot, I'm doing the hi-hat, and the way that works is part of it, because I've got that left foot, and I want to be able to use that.
But in your case, you also have a very interesting approach with your left hand, because you do patterns with your left hand also.
Exactly. I mean, and you're right. That's another thing. I chose to play the synth with my right hand. I see a lot of people doing it the other way. Now, my left hand on drums is way superior than my right hand. So my left hand has got all the ghost notes and the backbeat. And that was why I chose. And my right hand is way better at playing the keyboards, So that was how that worked. It was almost like, I don't know. I'm kind of saying the stuff that I always say, but it was almost like I found a way for the keyboard to be like my ride cymbal in a certain sense.
It is what I feel. Yeah,
at times.
Yeah.
At times. But also playing scales helps me. Like I'll just keep like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll just kind of practice scales in time with that, and I'll feel the beat around the scales and different groupings. Groupings of 6, groupings of 5, whatever, to kind of start to feel, and then you take out some notes, and you just try to. It's almost like you're warming up or something. I think that's a cool thing to do.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, this combination of yours, your sound, it's like, for me, it's like coffee and sweet. Like it's perfect. It's like
cool
because you have all the funky, really pocket. Amazing.
I'm so glad. It's so cool. I mean, I'm literally using everything I have is right there. That's all I know is everything right there.
Well, it's enough.
And it really, but sometimes it really does feel good. And the singing over it I have to say, it's an incredible feeling of power,
have everything.
Yeah, to really, because you can play one melody, you can sing another, you can, you know, if you want to play a long note, you just play a long note, and then you know, play something else. And yeah, I don't know, it's fun. It's a, you know, it's like a circus every night.
For those of you who unbelievably might not know what we're talking about, there's a record. There's a record here.
Lamplight.
And many others, and many
Yeah.
others. I don't know if you want to talk about a little bit about the records or stuff you've been doing or
Paris Monster. Yeah.
doing.
Well, unfortunately, we haven't been doing much, but we got to get a record out of this, you know. So we're writing new material. Yes, Paris Monster. I mean, you know, we're on all the different platforms, Spotify and all those things, and you can order vinyl at parismonster.com if you're into that. I think there's someone there to send it. And yeah, I mean, you know, working in the studio with Jeff is amazing. I mean, you know, Jeff engineers as well as we work a lot with modular, and you know, that's really his expertise. So, you know, I'm just like, I'm sitting over there
Watching.
watching him do this, and I'm thinking like, yo, can we make it sound like the wind? Yo, can we make it sound like, you know, it's like, and you know, and it's incredible. And we've been working with, I mean, at the same time, I mean, I'm able to be another set of ears for him, working out the texture and the timbre of a specific sound. And it's amazing, you know. And we've been putting the drums through the modular and coming up with some really cool sounds. And it's so much fun. And then yeah, I mean, dude, I don't know. We'll see what happens, but we're working on it.
I think you brought many stuff to many people because we've been seeing this, not only you of course, but you have a big, and I think you will keep having this influence on people because all the moves are coming out again, all the stuff from all the funk vibes, dance, electronical stuff people are trying to do now. I see it a lot.
Yeah.
So, but it's just as you said. Would you agree that the most important is you to groove? And of course, if you want to place a keyboard on your drums, you should know a little bit about the keyboards, right? You
Oh
just
man. Well,
without
yeah,
trouble.
that's the thing. Yeah,
Fortunately,
it's such a slippery slope. Uh, I don't know. It's up to us individually what we want to do, and it's like I feel like the keyboard with drums is a cool thing. I really do. You know, I think that there's so many ways you can do it. I mean, there's so many people doing it now, and there are people that have done it a lot of times. I mean, you know, I mean, I think the thing that I have to always remember is that I am singing when I'm doing it, and that it's like if the voice is so important. It kind of has to be the song I have to be singing. I can't be thinking too much. And I have tried to do too much, and it's like, well, wait a minute, like there's a song, there's a message, and that's, you know, and it's really okay to just sing,
it's amazing when you say
you know.
I don't have to I can't think too much, and I'm remembering seeing you play, and I'm thinking, how can't you be thinking too much? Because everything is going on, and your voice it seems completely loose. It doesn't seem like
Right.
it's all the
Yeah.
things. It's still a lot of work there, and it's amazing. Feels it's very
Yeah.
it's a big fluidity. It's really amazing
I'm
when you
glad. I'm
when
glad
you
you
listen
like it, man.
to the
I
keyboard.
I I
It,
will say a lot of the reason it works is because I'm kind of holding it down. My bass lines are very like they're meat. It's like meat. And Jeff, he's got all this ambiance. He's got all this sound. And you put those two things together, and one completes the other, which I think it helps relieve my burden of like, I've got to do it all. You know what I mean? It's kind of like,
no, but you guys together, it's
yeah,
really doesn't sound at all stuck or whatever.
right.
It's
I
amazing.
know.
You,
Yeah,
you feel it right away. I felt it right away, like, oh, this is the thing.
it's a thing.
And
Yeah,
I hope people do that with technology because and with sounds and frequencies because it's what you say to balance all those frequencies in chaos and beautiful things happen. I
Yeah.
was going to ask you, what was I going to ask you? I would like to remind everybody, they're so shy, that they can place their own questions.
Yeah.
They have a question mark over here.
Yep,
Many
that'd be
people are
fun.
saying hello. We'll say hello, hello to everybody. Many people saying hello, telling stories. Maybe people, I don't know, maybe some of them
Thanks,
are your
guys.
friends.
Wow.
I was going to ask you something, and maybe it slipped. Okay. I usually have to do this because this will go out after 1 hour, so we have kind of 10 minutes, so it's cool. It's okay,
Okay.
just for not to be like oh.
Gotcha. Okay.
Um. So I don't know if you want to share this thing because many people don't like to talk about this very much, but how the lyrics yours, how you, because you're a producer also, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, I have produced. I mean, Paris Monster. Jeff and I both produced that. Jeff writes the lyrics to Paris Monster primarily.
okay. Mhm.
Um, so it's been very interesting working with him. I mean, we both write. I write, but I think that when I met Jeff, it changed the way I wrote lyrics. He's a brilliant lyricist, and it helps give. I don't know how to describe what Paris Monster is lyrically, but there's a lot to dig into. There's a lot there,
Mhm.
and it actually really helps the rhythmic aspect of singing. Sorry, this
Mhm.
window's
No
real
worries.
loud out here. It helps the aspect of singing for me. There's a lot of words, and there's a lot of play with the rhythm and things like that, and there's a lot of I don't want to say complicated, but
Mhm.
there's just so much substance to the lyrics, and it would take a while to describe. And some of them are stories, some of them,
Mhm.
everything has a point with him, but at the same time, Jeff is avant-garde at times, and like there'll be words that are cut in half, and then the other half of the word ends up in the next stanza, and I mean, it goes all over the place, and it's great to work with him, and he's been such a great partner for me to bounce off lyrics I have to him, and so that's a huge aspect of the band,
Mhm.
is the way we work together like that, and how that band is kind of centered around him writing, and then me being the conduit and the kind of centerpiece of the performance and stuff. I think that's, it's a really interesting way to work, and that has influenced me when I'm writing my own material, and which I've got about 100 unfinished songs. It's unbelievable. Um, yeah, it's
Now
just
it's the time. Now it's the time.
now's the time. Yeah, I know it's ridiculous. There's so much to be done. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's how Paris Monster works. And it's really really cool to grow as a lyricist. Because I remember there was a certain thing with the first songs I ever wrote. There was a certain, I don't know. I wasn't thinking, and something really beautiful happened. But then as time went on, and I got involved with like thinking too much with songs, and maybe like we had some labels interested, and maybe I had a bunch of like A&R guys buy me dinner, and then all of a sudden I started to give a shit, and it was like, and it's like I want to get back to that place where it's like just honesty,
Yeah.
and I think that that's where I'm at right now with the writing is coming back around, and the lyrics. The lyrics can be found on Paris Monster's website.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we
That's
have the lyrics there.
That's interesting. Okay. So
Yeah.
everybody, you can. I know I have a friend here for sure, Juan. He was talking about the band, yeah, just a while ago. I'm sure he wants to go and check that out if he hasn't.
Yeah.
Talking about the more, people are not asking so many questions, but I know they want to ask, but sometimes maybe they're shy.
That's
Uh,
okay.
and now I have to ask all those questions like as a drummer. I know because everything works, everything goes. But are you? are you a specific guy on gear, whatever? Because I see that you have a very like simple approach, whatever works, or do you really like to have everything nice and tidy, but sometimes you just can't have that on the road?
Right. No, I go through two phases. When I'm in New York, I like to, if I show up and it's a house drum set, I like to just leave it like it is, if I can. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
I like that because
Yeah.
it looks, I don't know, it looks so fresh. So
Yeah.
sometimes it feels like you play better on that one than the thing that you just brought. I don't know why.
I
What,
know.
what, why is this
Sometimes
like,
I'll
oh,
sit down.
so
Yeah.
cool.
I mean,
Everything works because
un
always everything is different.
unless the snare, sometimes I'll go and the snare is so tight that I'll be like, I can't do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or sometimes the toms will be like Max Roach bebop, and I'm about to play a rock gig, and I'm like, well, I have to change this. But but I love that. Like, okay, so answer is I'm not, I don't have any idea about what I need necessarily, and I change. But I will say, with Paris Monster, I had to gravitate towards something, and my setup changed in this really weird way, where like I started putting the hi-hat off to the left in this weird way, and the snare drum is kind of in front of both of my knees. It's bizarre. I don't know how it happened. I think that it's strange how your technique changes. Sometimes it just kind of changes.
Mhm.
I can't describe why. I think it's also humans watching other humans do things, and I think we're influenced by those motions, and we don't even realize that we cop it sometimes from someone else. You know what I mean? Like the certain way that a drummer looks when they play.
It's true. I feel it a lot. I feel it a lot.
And I,
We're
yeah.
musically, music is a language, just as you said, and I believe that people just you know this, you learn the language just by listening. This is a this is a fact. If you have a kid that has two parents in the house speaking different languages, he will speak them both naturally. So this is what we do. We listen and we right away we're processing and doing it. Sometimes we don't even think about it, just as you just said.
Yeah. No, it's so I think that influences my setup. I mean, I play Yamaha drums, and I've found their hardware to be like so simple and useful. I love it. I've had the same bass drum pedal for 20 years. Um and so I stick with that in terms of my setup and my hardware, and I like hardware that's like simple and not too cumbersome. I don't want like huge ass racks and stuff like that. That's not what I'm going for, and
Mhm.
and yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I feel like most setups are cool for me. I could figure out something, and I think that sometimes I'll just be in a mood, like
Sweet.
I want to put the cymbal up here, and all of a sudden I'm in a fusion band.
Completely different places, and you say, oh, I worked so much to place this stuff over here, and now suddenly I switch, and I'm playing so it's so cool. I'm feeling so comfortable. Why? And suddenly if you go back to that stuff that you were trying to do, it's not comfortable anymore. Or in a jam session, the drums are just there and you're just playing, it's just grooving, and it's like, what? I played yesterday on my kit and I was all like, oh, I
It's so
like
hard. Well,
right. I like
two things with Paris Monster. It took me a while to be able to play any old drum set, because if like shit starts to break, man, I'm in trouble. You know what I mean? And so I finally got to the point where I can just show up and do it. It just took a little bit of touring, showing up to the venue, and this bass drum has 10 pillows in it. Okay. This snare drum has no ring. Okay. Like I can't do anything about it. It's like I don't know. Like sometimes you show up and the house gear is just a certain thing. It's like what you're talking about. You play one night. See, we're always we're making music in a room that's going to change the way everything is going to be a factor. You know what I mean? Everything, the way that drum set feels and the way it's reacting to the music. You know, you sit down on the jam session and like the snares are loose or something, and you don't know, you know, or the toms are totally tuned down, and it's like, I don't know what to say. Like, make music with it. You know what I mean? Like, or, you know, if you don't have time to tune it up or whatever, or if you've got something, or if the one cymbal you have has an incredibly short sound, that's what you're gonna have to use. You know what I mean? And it's like, don't abuse it. Like, figure out how to use it. You know what I mean? And just find a way to make music. I think it's good to be aware that, like, these are the sounds I have to work with right now. You know what I mean? And that may be, oh, I'm just grooving tonight, baby, because I can't do a lot of stuff on this kit, you know? Or if it's feeling great, like you said, you sit down and it's like, I can do anything tonight. You know, I've felt that sometimes. One of my favorite things to do is sit down on an old bebop kit, you know, I'll for lack of a better term, open bass drum, ringing toms, and heads that have not been tuned because they sound great. They've just stayed there and they just sound great. And when I sit down at a kit like that, sometimes it's just like a breath of fresh air, you know. I feel like, oh man, I can play this, you know. I really love it when that happens.
Josh, we have 1 minute and a half. I'm sorry.
Oh,
this
shit.
is really so fast. It's amazing. But it's really great to talk about this. It's great because it's so common.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So
yeah. Someone just said every room has different acoustics, so tune bass to the sound of the room. Exactly. Yeah. Everything's going to be different. So yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
No, I thank you, and thanks to everybody, because it's amazing just to talk with someone, and
yeah,
and hope to see you soon.
That would be great.
It.
Be safe, man. Yeah, we'll get back to being on the road again someday. We'll travel and we'll hook up.
If I go to the US, I will give you a ring.
Please do that. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Okay, man.
Very cool. Thank you.
See ya.
See you.